All right, guys, I'm so excited. This is looking really, really good. And we're adding a lot of drama and dimension to our piece. And that's what it's all about, especially just having fun. So let's go in and start on our beautiful red dress, right? So we're going to be using our, I actually want to go in with, I'm going to use a number 4 round brush again. Okay, same one we were using before. And I'm going to be using my crimson red. I'm just going to go right into the dress. And I'm sort of using those circular motion. And I am going a little heavy. Because I want the piece to also have a loose effect, an impressionistic effect. Just, I want there to be movement. I'm just gonna follow the dress right here, there we go. So I'm using thick paint on purpose. And I'm doing the circular movements because I want there to be some texture. So if you look, you could see that there's some heavy paint on some areas, and don't worry, I'm doing that on purpose. Same thing with her ruffles. Now I'm going to be mixing some black in there as well to sort of set it all apart and give the dress more movement. So if you're, you can go right over the graphite. See, I'm taking my time and I'm just making sure that I'm using that heavy paint, and I'm leaving behind those little bits of chunky acrylics, and I'm doing that on purpose. I'm just gonna turn this around just so that I can get the edge right. Oops. Of her waist. Just like that. There we go. And I'm going to follow that down, just leaving a bit for the black that I'm going to be putting in just to sort of set that apart. Because the dress is sort of 2 pieces, and I want to make sure that I show that. There we go. Same thing. Turn it back. There we go. Now again, I'm just concentrating on shapes. And I'm doing the circular. I'm using that red really heavily. And you're going to be doing the same thing throughout her dress with this heavy technique. Circles. I could still see the pencil mark right there, so I'm not as worried. I'm going to be going in with a little bit of black. If you don't want to use black, you can use gold. You can use violet. You can use pink. You can use, you can use whatever colors you want. So these are the colors that I'm using. But you can totally do your own thing. So this is what you're going to be doing throughout her entire dress. And I'm just loving those textures. It's just beautiful. Now if you want to use a larger brush, you can also use a larger brush. Just do the circular motion thing and continue that throughout, because you want those chunky part to show there. I'm gonna need more crimson. Crimson red, there we go. And just keep going throughout the entire dress. You're gonna be doing the same exact thing. Now, if you could still see these, the graphite lines, don't worry. As soon as your piece dries, go back over those lines with that red and that circular motion, and it'll go away. Just like that. Now I'm using a heavy body acrylic, so that helps in getting these really cool textures on your piece. Because we want movement, we want drama. There we go. You're going to be doing the same exact thing up here, guys. You turn your piece if you want to. Now she has the ruffles right here, so look, I'm just going in heavy, making sure you can tell there's a sort of ruffles coming down. And then her arm. Or I should say her sleeve. There we go. Same thing, guys. Thick paint. And just take your time. And you're going to be doing this throughout her entire dress. Just don't cover the ruffle part because you want to be able to distinguish, set that apart. And we'll leave this open right here so you can see the background. But I am just loving the movement. Now, if there's graphite that maybe you're just thinking, like I just made the mistake here and I'm thinking I don't want to really go that thick. No worry, guys, because you can go back with your kneaded eraser or your eraser and just erase that. No big deal, don't freak out. It's okay. So just continue on with the entire piece. Using thick paint, that is the trick. Same technique throughout her entire dress. And I can still see the graphite, so I'm not going to freak out if I go over the lines a little bit. Because we're going to pull those out with a little bit of black and maybe a little bit of gold. Let's see. There we go. Let's continue that, guys. All right, so my dress is dry. I finished the entire piece. Okay, so I have my beautiful crimson red. I love the way this dress pops. Just by doing this, there's a lot of movement going on. Now the next thing that I want to move on to is the ruffles. Just sort of give it some shadow play, some contrast, and we're going to be moving on to our black color. So go ahead and put some black on your palette if you haven't already. Just put a little bit right there. And I'm gonna go ahead and pick up, let's see here, my number 8 round brush. It's just a little wider than my number 4. Pick up a little bit of black. And I'm gonna go right underneath. And it's not really heavy. It's more on the light side. We're just making indications. And I am doing sort of like that little round technique that we did with the ruffles, but just on a smaller scale, a lighter scale. And I might go in a little darker right here in the beginning. And it just looks like shadow casting. More defined areas. Not everywhere, but just in some areas. Do the same thing right here. I'm gonna use my pinky for support. There we go. I'm gonna go a little lighter with that. Not as heavy, not as dark. Same thing on her sleeve. And as you can see, and I can still see my pencil marks, and that's what I'm just going over. Just giving it more contrast, more values, and that's what you want to see. It just adds more interest. And then of course you can go back and define some areas, but you don't want to define all of it. You want a little mystery, you want it to feel like movement. You don't want to lose all that. I am keeping the black light in some places and dark, so I'm sort of playing with it. So don't be scared to just go ahead and play with it. See what that looks like. That movement around. And I'm just going to do the same thing throughout. Move around, figure out what places I want there to be more movement, more contrast. Do some little lines like this. And you're just going to do that all throughout, right under the ruffles. I still have my lines. I could see my lines from before when I first originally drew the figure, the dress, I'm sorry, and I'm just following those ruffles. I'm going to go a little darker here. Using the tip of my brush, taking my time. Just some areas that I want to define just a little more. Now, if you don't, you can always go back if you're not confident enough to use your brush, and you don't have a brush that's thin enough. The alternative to that is to use a marker. So if you have a fine marker, you can always go back after, of course, doing the lighter black areas, and then just sort of define some areas. And that's one way to go about it. There's a will, there's a way. So I'm just creating little squigglies, I guess, or little round movements with my brush, because I want to continue that movement of dance that's going on. You don't want to lose that. Just like that. And if you'll notice right away, it's creating more depth to her gown. It's sort of, her gown is sort of becoming thicker, fuller, I should say, is the word I'm looking for. Now I'm going to continue to do this throughout. Let's turn it a little lighter there. More defined areas. I went a little too dark there. So I can go back with water before it dries. And I'm just sort of moving around the composition on her gown. And guys, take your time and, you know, it's almost like sculpting. You're just sort of sculpting this dress and pulling out some really interesting folds and movement that are happening. I love that. Because there's so much going on with these costumes, these dresses that they wear. I mean, the dress alone tells an amazing story, and not all the dresses are the same. So just continue doing that throughout. Okay, so this is what your piece could look like or should look like, or it doesn't have to exactly, but this is what I did. I just did a lot of the shadow areas, and then I defined certain areas, not all of the areas. I also went back, and this is a tip for you, and got some of that crimson red on my palette, picked some up, I'll do that right now, and I used my number 8 brush because I already had it handy, and sort of made even thicker. I went over some of it because some of it, as it dries, acrylic tends to start separating in some areas, and you can see the canvas color underneath, and I wanted to make sure to cover that up. I also wanted to add more textures in some areas, so you could see how I picked up some heavy acrylic and just went over some locations where I wanted, oh, that was a little bit much, where I wanted thicker. I wanted that acrylic to show just a little more. When it dries, you have these really cool textures everywhere. So I want to move on to adding some white designs in some areas just to give it the lacy look. I don't know if that's correct terminology, but I'll use it, why not, right? So I'm gonna go ahead and pick up my titanium white and just add that to my palette, just a little bit. And I'm going to use my number 4 round brush. Okay. Pick some up. And not too heavy, but just in some areas, add a little bit of design quality, just to give it a pop, almost like a highlight in certain areas, but just to give it a pop, more movement. And I'm just sort of doing small little movements here and there, not everywhere. More. Just small little, some round movements. I'm going really light. I'm not really putting pressure on my brush. I'm sorry, on my canvas. And if you really want to get creative, you can do the same thick, almost impasto effect, which is that thick paint technique with the white. And really get adventurous and just really make everything look I'm just gonna move that around. I'm going back to some areas and maybe giving it a heavier touch. Just like that. Move up a little. There we go. You can even go back to her flowers. Go a little heavy on there. Oops, too heavy. And just move around the canvas. I just want her dress to feel intricate and thick. I need there to be depth, and it has to feel like there's movement. And that's really what I'm going for. I'm just going for a lot of movement, and at the same time, I am just having fun, moving my brush around, just like that. All right, I'm gonna pick up a little bit of my yellow color. Add that to, this is a cadmium yellow color, nice and bright. Make sure my brush is clean. It's a cadmium yellow hue. Let me see, almost like I'm trying to give it, oh, it's too wet. If you have a gold color, even better. I'm just trying to switch it up here. And I am going a little on the thick side. I'm moving that around as well. Just to give it contrast in some areas. Wherever you think, just to break it up. A gold color will look really nice as well. I mean, you can really use any colors that you want. You can use a violet, would look really pretty as well. I mean, just get really creative. Put it on her florals. Just like that. And make sure to clean your brushes, guys. All right, coming up next, we are going to be working a little bit on the background because I want to bring even more drama, more contrast to our piece. Make it look like it's flowing. We're going to clean up the dress and see where we are from there, but I think we're just about almost done. The next one, guys.